It's basketball. It's not rocket science, right? It's the same things we always talk about. We need to not foul as much. We need to not turn the ball over as much. We need to execute properly. So it's just growth, and it's something that you would assume it's the NBA is baked in. Like as young guys grow up, they do that stuff better.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is Media Day. October 2nd will be October 3rd, 2023 by the time you listen to this. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the expert and site editor over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can follow me, of course, on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. As you can see, it is Media Day. The Orlando Magic are back in the Advent Health Training Center. Training camp starts tomorrow. Today, I don't know when you're listening to this. We'll have training camp episode tomorrow. The season is finally here. One of the most anticipated seasons in Orlando Magic history, to be perfectly honest. I know there's a lot of people very, very, very excited for what's to come this year. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, we'll go over all the feelings and quotes and sights and sounds from Orlando Magic Media Day. Very, very excited to share some of the video that I took with you from the players today. Before we get to any of that, though, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Remember, there's a great Locked On podcast covering every single team in the NBA. Just search for Locked On and the team you're looking for, the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Just a scheduling notes coming out. We are only going to do one episode today. I know I promised two. I felt like there was enough to combine everything to one episode instead of splitting it in two. So we'll have one big mega media day episode coming out today. You're listening to it right now. Tomorrow we'll have stuff from the first day of training camp. So we'll talk Orlando Magic basketball. Then Wednesday at 6 p.m. is going to be our live episode this week. I'm going to get everything set up on the YouTube channel, so you'll be able to check that out on the YouTube, on the Locked On Magic YouTube page, as well as set up a Twitter space on at OMagic Daily, so you'll be able to interact with the show and ask your questions as we get ready for training camp. We'll have plenty more to talk about in the meantime, but I want to get those notes out of the way. Media Day, it's one of my favorite days of the year. And it's one of my favorite days because, yes, you get to see everybody back in the building. There's just generally good vibes. Jeff Weltman put it really well. There are 30 teams that are really excited about their season today. And really, really excited about what they're hoping to accomplish this year. And obviously, there is still a lot of work to do and a long road to go to get to where we want to be in April. April is a far off distance away, and there's a lot of work to do to get to where everybody wants to be in April, and that is the postseason, the playoffs, if not doing something a little bit more. And so, Media Day, even at the worst moments for this Orlando Magic team, have always felt optimistic. And look, I'm happy to see all my friends and all the people that cover the team and all the people that work for the Magic, as well as to see and be around the players. And there are some great characters on this team. Joe Ingles is everything that's been advertised and more. We'll talk about Jalen Suggs later this week, I am sure, about his new outlook on what he hopes to accomplish this season. But undoubtedly, this Media Day did feel a little bit different. It had a little bit of extra juice because, yes, a good chunk of this team is back. There are a lot of players, every player but two from last season's team back with the Orlando Magic this year. It does feel very much like it is the same team. However, it feels very different. And I noted this yesterday that, no matter how much continuity this team has, everything is changing for this team. There are now expectations. We're going to talk about some of them in our second segment. There are expectations for what this team can accomplish. There is a belief that they will take the next level, take that next step up, and deliver something different, something unique, something that can be long lasting. Jeff Weltman did not shy away from saying it. He knows we know the contract situations. He knows we know the CBA future. He knows that there are big decisions coming for this Magic roster. And so, yes, while this is the same team, there is a lot to learn for the bigger picture for the Orlando Magic. But let's keep the microscope narrow. Let's keep the focus, the aperture narrow, and really talk about what's different about this team. And quite honestly, it's what Jeff Weltman, Jamal Mosley have talked about all offseason. There is a new vibe. There is a new focus. There is a belief among this Magic group, among these Magic players, that they can do something special. That not only can they do something special, that they're expected to do something special, that they expect themselves to do something special. And in order to do that, and they know that it's going to be a process, they know there are going to be mistakes along the way, that there are going to be ups and downs and lefts and rights and all those different things. They know it's going to take them putting in the work every single day. This is the same team, yes, but there is a bit of a different vibe about them. There is a belief that what they accomplished last year, going from 22 to 34 wins, being the last team eliminated from the Eastern Conference playoff picture, that is something permanent. That is something they can grow and build upon. That finishing sixth in the league in defensive rating after December 7th is something that they can take to the whole 82-game season. That they showed to themselves and to the rest of the league that they could stand up to any team, that they believe they can win any game that they play. And their ability to advance and take their place in the Eastern Conference is on them more than it is on anybody else. If there is a new vibe, and maybe there isn't, maybe this is just how they finish the season and it's just continuing. If there is a new vibe, it is in a seriousness of the task ahead.
I mean, every year you walk in excited about the team and the style of play, the level of play. I mean, I think my first scrum probably I wasn't as calm as I am now, but it is actually great to see these guys mature and see their level of excitement, their level of camaraderie that you've just seen grow over time. I think that's what I am most excited about. Other than getting on the practice court tomorrow all together, healthy, I think it's just being able to see this group's excitement and joy for one another.
A ton. You only learn through experiences. So I think that for us, and especially with the group of young guys that we have, for them to go through that at a young age, it only helps us. And even for myself and even some of the vet guys, to be able to see where we can help each other out at. But I think that was great. I think it was no better situation than to be able to be in that position. And I think that, again, it's going to help us. And we already have the mindsets through the summer, how we've been working, our mindsets coming into training camp. I think it's going to be big for us.
I think we had a good vibe going last year, too. I think it's important to, to build on what we built last year, not start from zero. And I think it really helps that we have some continuity and have a lot of the same faces here and, people who know what the coaches want and how we played last year already. So, yeah, see, we got a good vibe going.
Certainly, what you heard there is part of the realization, part of the maturation process of this team. Jeff Weltman and Jamal Mosley have said it throughout the course of the offseason that their goal is not to hit a win mark, not even to make the playoffs. That's a result. Their goal is about the process. And we've talked about this. And look, I get it. Playing better basketball is an obvious goal. The leveling up thing, that is a coachism. I will admit that is a complete coachism that I am trying to define for you guys so that you understand the language that these guys are talking. It is something that is a little bit PR babble. I'm not going to sit here and deny that either. It's something that they can define however they want. They can claim victory at the end of the season because they didn't say we're a playoff team or we're trying to accomplish X, Y, Z. They said the goal is to play better basketball. And that means turning the ball over less, fouling less, reducing the mistakes, and being about the details it's going to take to win. That's the task ahead of the Orlando Magic. That is the maturation they want to show. So what is this new vibe for the Orlando Magic? What is this new task for the Orlando Magic? It's to be more mature. It's to play more mature basketball. And that is, of course, not the easiest thing in the world to do. However, despite the vagueness of it all, the Orlando Magic are not shying away from the goals in front of them. The Orlando Magic are not shying away from what they want to accomplish and what that end goal is. I have been part of these rebuild media days where people with authority, people with power, actively discourage talk about the playoffs, or even like a Nikola Vucevic would say, I don't know if we're going to make the playoffs. This team is not shying away from the expectations. And that was the other big takeaway from Media Day that we'll get to coming up here in just a moment. But first, it's time for a quick word from our friends over at Ibotta. Look, it's football season. We know that. Basketball season's around the corner. The baseball playoffs starting. Go Marlins. Go Rays. I don't know if they do that, but this was always my sign for the Marlins. Go Fish. That means pizza, wings, maybe some buffalo chicken dip. It means a lot of great food. It means parties. It means getting everyone together. Whatever you prefer at your tailgate or your football party, go all out and get cash back on every purchase with Ibotta. Ibotta gives you cash back on hundreds of grocery items, from produce to personal care to pantry goods, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. Either link your loyalty account or upload your receipt after you shop and get your cash back. It's that easy. The average Ibotta user earns $100 per year that could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, or you can use your cash back to buy that flight you've been eyeing, the game you're dying to go to, or the fancy dinner you've been craving. The Rays are right down the road. They got at least 2 home games for this wild card round if you want to take the trip to St. Pete this Tuesday or Wednesday. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much. With Ibotta, you get real cash back that you can cash out to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. You can earn cash back on hundreds of online brands and retailers too when you start with Ibotta, including Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. Download the Ibotta app now and use code LOCKED to start earning real cash back today. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app and use code LOCKED. That's Ibotta, I-B-O-T-T-A. Again, that's I-B-O-T-T-A in the Google Play or App Store, and use code LOCKED today. The playoffs, the postseason, whatever you want to call it, can be a dirty word to rebuilding teams that haven't quite gotten there. Teams that are competing for a championship don't shy away what their expectations are, that they want to win championships. That's obviously the thing. The playoffs are still a mid-level goal. Steve Clifford hated it, way back in the day. Listen to our friends Locked On Hornets here with the Hornets, what Steve Clifford's up to with the Hornets. Steve Clifford hated talking about the playoffs as an expectation because he felt like it put a ceiling on the team. I think a lot of the rebuilders here in Orlando for a good chunk of time hated the idea of staying to playoffs because it put too high a floor that they weren't quite ready to reach. And look, I think Jeff Weltman is a pretty savvy PR guy. I think that he is pretty good about staying on message, saying something without actually saying anything. He's not the one to come straight out and say we're going to make the playoffs. He's not guaranteeing anything. And again, both he and Jamal Mosley have crafted a really strong message of what success is for this team. And it is playing better basketball. And like last year, when the goal was to level up, it was something that we all knew when we saw it. And it was a good way to kind of frame the season because we didn't expect them to make the playoffs. They took a huge leap last year. I don't think we appreciate enough how big of a leap the Orlando Magic took last year and what they really accomplished and what they really did. There. It was humongous. Like, seriously, guys. It set up a season where we're expecting them to take another huge leap. We're expecting them to take another big step forward. Talking directly about the playoffs, though, really, in the way that the Magic talked about it, we're going to hear some clips here in a second. The way the Magic talked about the playoffs on Monday shows a confidence that, frankly, this team hasn't had in a very long time. The kind of confidence that shows you why everyone is looking so forward to this season and believing in what this team can accomplish this season. The Magic took a huge step up, like no kidding. And now they truly believe they are a playoff team. The postseason, the playoffs, whatever you want to call it, even the in-season tournament, for whatever those guys do or know about what those games are going to be like. I think there's still a lot of hedging bets and like waiting and seeing what that's going to be like. Nobody on this team was shying away. You know, Wendell Carter was asked directly, do you think this is a playoff team? He said, that's the goal. Like that is, we are good enough to make it. We are not going to shy away from that. The Magic aren't ducking what's possible this season.
I mean, I think we just got to be who we are and, just stick together. It's going to be highs and lows, ups and downs throughout the year. But as long as we stay together as a unit, I'm confident with us going up against anybody. I think, when we was healthy last year, there wasn't a team that we looked at and, thought we were outmatched or outmanned. So, when we have a full roster coming in this year, I think, it's just living up to our expectations and trying to, be as good as we can be as a unit. And I think all the playoffs and whatever else is going to take care of itself.
Well, Philip, to your point, I really think that you can't skip steps. And I think when you try to skip steps, you have to find the experiences. And I think going for that playoff run gave them part of that experience. So we as coaches can say over and over again what it takes, but when you feel it real time and how important these games are, now you understand how hard you have to work, to get certain things done.
I got a high expectation for the team. We got a lot of great talent. Again, what we've been through, I think it's only going to make us stronger. I think we can come out the East, man. I'm not, just saying that to say that. I mean, you got to set, manifest, and I believe that we can do that, but it's going to take a lot of work. It's not going to be easy. It's a lot of great teams out there. So, again, we got to focus on ourselves and take it one game at a time. But I think we got a great chance.
And while the Magic aren't ducking the playoffs, very clearly they think they are a good team. They understand that it's going to take something more to get there. That it's not just simply about rolling back what they did last year. It's not just simply about doing what they did last season, but better. It is really about a seriousness of effort, a seriousness of focus, a clarity of what they're trying to do. The Magic are a young team. They're going to make mistakes. I forget who said it. It might have been Jonathan Isaac, who one of the few players on this team with playoff experience. It might have been Gary Harris. The Magic have the talent. Jonathan Isaac was asked about. I think I asked him about this, about how he can use his playoff experience, because the only year that he made it all the way through was the 2019 season, the best Magic season in the last decade, results wise at least. He said, the one thing I learned from the playoffs that year was, we had to scratch tooth and nail to beat Toronto on a buzzer beater. And now we got to do that 3 more times. Like, it's hard. And everyone recognized winning is going to be hard. Winning in the NBA is not easy. Consistency is certainly not easy. And this is a young team that is going to make mistakes. They are not going to be perfect. They're going to falter. There is going to be a losing streak. There is going to be a moment of doubt. And no one on this team is going to shy away from what they need to do to succeed. One of the big talking points at Media Day was about leadership. It was Paolo Banchero saying, I've gotten together with Mose, with Franz, with some of the other leaders on this team, making sure we're all on the same page. Them telling Paolo that he needs to be more vocal. Even though he's one of the younger players on the team, to be more vocal, to communicate, to hold each other accountable. These little things that everyone talks about, but who knows how you actually execute them. These little things are going to be the difference. They're going to be the difference and the thing that the Magic have to work on from the very start of the season. From Tuesday morning, early afternoon, when they get in training camp, that first practice, that's when it starts. That's when everything begins. That's when the Magic have to be at their best. That's when the Magic have to start getting in and digging into these details and really showing not only themselves, but the rest of the league why they're so good, why they are a playoff team. Look, y'all know me. I'm not here to give you my opinion. I give it when it's called for. I'm not an opinion guy. I'm not here to shout and scream and do all these things. I want to give you insight. I want to tell you what's going on, try and break it down, try and give you a different perspective, try and, pull the microscope out when we need to pull it out, really dig in deep when we need to dig in deep. That's my role here. But I will say this unequivocally, and I think I've said this unequivocally throughout the offseason. This is a postseason team. This is a playoff team. This is a team that should be playing Game 83. And if I were branding something for the entire back room of that locker room, it would be Mission 83. The mission of this season is to play an 83rd game. And if they make the in-season tournament, we'll make it Mission 84 or 85 if we have to. The mission of this season is to play beyond Game 82. That is absolutely what I expect from this team. That is how we will define success this season. Whether we'll define that as failure, not reaching it, I think there's a broader spectrum there. We'll hopefully not have to cross that bridge. But undoubtedly, this team believes they can make the playoffs. This team has the talent to make the playoffs, as Jonathan Isaac said, probably the highest ceiling team that he has played on, which, he's been around a little bit. He's been around a lot of teams. This is a team that is capable of accomplishing everything that they have talked so openly about this media day. So what's going to be the big key to hitting the ground running? Well, everybody said it, and everybody's excited to hopefully have it. It's health. The final point to come from media day coming up here in just a moment. The good news for the Orlando Magic is everybody is healthy. Jamal Mosley and Jeff Voltman both confirmed that everyone is expected to be able to fully participate in training camp starting on Tuesday. That includes Jonathan Isaac. Jonathan Isaac said his injury, the minor hamstring surgery that he had, was a 6-week injury. He was back playing. He's been playing pickup runs with the players over the last month and a half or so. He is full go for training camp. He told me or told us in the media scrum, he is unaware of any restrictions that he might have for the upcoming season. Jeff Weltman said that, they will obviously have a little bit of a program, but it'll be in consultation with the new performance director, Arnie Kander, who everybody spoke very, very highly of, especially Wendell Carter. Everyone spoke very, very highly of Arnie Kander and what he's brought to the team. We'll see. And obviously, the other big theme coming from this media day was that everything's going to be earned. Nobody is going to be handed minutes. Everything is going to be earned. This Magic team believes they are very, very deep, and they're expecting plenty of internal competition for spots in the rotation and spots in this lineup. The number one thing everybody talked about is health. The Magic have not had it the last 3 years. It's been the thing that forced the Magic to rebuild and has really prevented the Magic from being all they can be. Everyone said it, especially in relation to those playoff goals, that the Magic going 5-20 last season was almost entirely because of injuries, because of the injury to Markelle Fultz and Cole Anthony early in the season. They understand, or they believe that they would be a playoff team if not for those injuries. And so to have Markelle Fultz complete his first healthy full offseason, remember the summer between 2020 and between the 2020 and 2021 season was a short offseason because of the bubble and because of COVID. Certainly not a normal offseason. We saw how good Markelle Fultz was those first 8 games before the ACL injury. every reason to believe Markelle Fultz is going to have a very strong year after a fully healthy offseason. Jalen Suggs really seemed to come back refreshed. He told us a little bit about how, he spent a lot of this summer kind of soul searching a little bit, and, being healthy enabled him to get back on the court and find his joy for the game again. And he really kind of seemed to be able to put things in perspective a little bit more, and have basketball in kind of the proper place as far as how it affects him in general. And he's hoping that he can show that he's going to make better decisions and be better on the floor, as well as kind of beyond it as well, and dealing with adversity well. Everybody by all accounts is healthy and ready to go for training camp on Tuesday. And that is just unbelievable news. I know we talked about it yesterday, but it just deserves repeating. This is unbelievable news for a Magic team that has not had health. Now, obviously there will be injuries during the course of the season. Nobody has a full roster that plays 82 games. Someone's going to get hurt. Wendell Carter had the plantar fascia issue, and he said it really did affect him last year. It affected him in a major way last year. But he was told that it couldn't get worse by playing through it. He gritted through it and played through it. And it clearly hurt him last year. Was probably an underrated thing. So even just getting healthy and having healthy off seasons feels like it's going to make the Magic better. As Jeff Wiltman said, the Magic are still at such a young age that natural progression of players getting better, provided they do the work, which all indications are the Magic players do the work, should make this team better. It should also make them better in training camp. Because not only does the team have continuity where everybody knows what to expect, not only from the coaching staff, but from each other, and will allow them to kind of quickly get through the basics, be able to get the rookies obviously up to speed, or Joe Ingles up to speed. Joe actually said one of the reasons he came to Orlando was to be with Coach Mosley because of Jamal Mosley. And he said, since he's arrived here over the last couple of weeks, over the last month or so, he's kind of had some sit downs off to the side with Jamal Mosley to help him get up to speed quicker and understand his role or what to expect when he's on the floor, so that, he's a veteran. He knows how to get himself ready. He can hit the ground running and just kind of flow into this continuity that the Magic have. They hope that all of these elements plus internal competition are going to not only allow them to have really good options on their bench, no matter who they have available that any particular night, but allow them to get really good really fast. The Magic want to get off to a good start. The schedule is very difficult to start the season, but the Magic understand that 5-20 start was a big reason why they weren't able to accomplish a lot of the goals we're talking about this year, last year. They believe they were good enough last year to do it, and this year's just a continuation of that. This year is just there is a confidence that the Magic can accomplish these goals, that the Magic can be these kinds of players, that the Magic can get to the playoffs and do a lot more and grow into a really good team. There is a confidence about it that I have not felt from a Magic team since I've started covering this team. I went to my first media day probably in the fall of 2013. I have not felt a confidence about from a group since I've covered this team. They believe they're going to accomplish a lot of things this year. And it's going to start Tuesday. And they have all their tools and all their weapons and all their opportunities in front of them to get that job done. It's going to be a fun season, folks. I can't say it any other way. This season is going to be a lot of fun. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at @PhilipRR_OMD. Subscribe to the podcast, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all of the on the podcast to your podcast-enabled listening device. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Also, be sure to check out the Orlando Magic Hub, my Patreon page. Go to patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub to see some of the great content that I'm starting to put up there. I'm always looking for good ideas for content that you'd like to see on that page. So definitely check that out. Again, that's patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. Don't forget, tomorrow we will have another special fun episode with sound and all that for the first day of training camp. I'll probably try and take some video and share that as well. So we'll talk plenty Orlando Magic basketball as we get ready for the season to start and as training camp begins. Plus, don't forget Wednesday at 6 p.m. on our YouTube page, as well as on the Orlando Magic Daily @OMagic Daily Twitter page. We will do a live episode. I'll take your questions, do kind of a live mailbag episode to get us ready for the start of the season. Basketball is back. The Orlando Magic are back. We're very, very excited to get this season going, and it's going to be a fun one. So until next time, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.